you very much, Mr. Chairman. I really appreciate you doing a second round. There's so much to discuss here. Mr. Barola, non-immigrant F-1 visas requirements make higher education really inaccessible to a vast majority of refugees who are not resettled in the United States of America. Globally, only about 5% of college-age refugees in the world are able to access higher education. Given the current international events, it's really clear to me, at least, that we need to address this challenge of refugee students face in their pursuit of higher education as they seek to come to the United States. So could you just maybe inform the committee on your recommendations to make higher ed more accessible to refugee students?
Refugees, especially Afghan and Ukrainian refugees that are here in the U.S. that have escaped violence, persecution, oppression, authoritative regimes, are here and are being resettled by our universities and in coordination with community organizations and our government. And our universities are doing quite a good job here in the U.S. of helping provide wraparound services, English language training for students and families, helping them adjust to the culture here in the U.S., legal clinics to understand their rights and laws here in the U.S. And these are ways that we're supportive. We also enroll those students that had their courses interrupted. That might be in Afghanistan at the American University of Afghanistan, for example, right. And allowing them to come here and continue their studies. So anything we can do to provide pathways for those students and scholars whose academic endeavors were interrupted makes it very helpful. But the reality is, much like DACA recipients, refugees are looking for some levels of a foundation of stability before they can even be thinking about investments in their life in terms of college and higher education. So providing a base, a foundation of stability, of knowing what your legal options are within the country are critically important so that they can go ahead and then look at how they can best reach their own full potentials and contribute to the country.
Thank you for that really substantive answer. You also talked about something I found interesting in your written testimony. You cited both a front log of petitions for employment-based visas, meaning petitions that are awaiting initial review, and a backlog of petitions that have been reviewed but not fully processed by U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. If Congress chooses to raise pre-country caps for employment-based visas, allow dual intent or otherwise incentivize more international students and skilled workers to immigrate to the United States, what do we need to do to ensure that USCIS is not further overburdened and that these front logs and backlogs do not continue to grow worse?
Thank you. Yes, the pandemic has had a huge impact on employment and ability for USCIS to be able to address these backlogs and front logs. And so staffing support, not just for USCIS, but many aspects of our federal agencies that have seen losses of employment and workforce are partially what is causing these backlogs. So addressing that would be critically important. But also, I think for our own students, finding ways to expedite. We did this this past December when we allowed, for example, students that had already been to the U.S. on a visa to forego certain processes and visa interviews to be able to come and study in the United States. So ways to expedite within the current framework would be very helpful.
Thank you very much. I want to go really quickly. I may go a few seconds over, but I know the chairman's favorite pastries. I'd like to go to Dalia Larios, if I can, if she can hear me. In your written testimony, you wrote about the uncertainty created by the impermanence of DACA, which honestly I think is cruel because of the anxiety, the insecurity hanging over so many of these folks. And worse, you emphasize how not all states allow DACA recipients to obtain medical license. I thought that testimony was powerful. And how you haven't been able to travel outside of the United States since you arrived here 20 years ago to learn from other oncologists or share your own research, especially in the field of oncology. It is so important now to be putting all of our substantial resources and all of our best minds into researching something as profoundly threatening to the human race as cancer. And I think it's just very succinctly, if you could tell me, how have you seen immigration restrictions in this country hinder the improvement of this critical, vital, urgent medical research that takes place in your field?
Thank you for your question. Certainly the biggest obstacle is coming back down to access we need people to join the field. We need people to be able to have access to higher education, to be able to work on this vital research and be able to, find those solutions for cancer and other problems that we're facing in other fields. Without those skills and those bright minds, we're really losing opportunities to tap into that potential from so many individuals that could be contributing. We know that this year alone, over 100,000 students in high school graduated that are undocumented. And for the first time ever, this generation will not have access to DACA. They will face bigger barriers than even I faced in terms of accessing federal financial aid, state financial aid, institutional aid, and so on. And really something that I want to underscore in this is that when we think about these policies and these regulations, they really have a way of coming down with great impact on the human body and mind. These students worry about this. They're more likely to face depression, anxiety, even suicidal ideation. And we send this message that their lives don't matter, that their contributions don't matter. Every year that goes by, that we don't offer that path to citizenship or an opportunity to continue forward. So it impacts us as a nation at individual levels with our young and bright students, and at these bigger levels with advancing cancer and advancing our fields, whether through our STEM fields, to be more competitive.
Because in critical research areas, immigrants to our country have made profound contributions. But then clearly that what you just said at the end there about the human anguish that is caused to dreamers who in themselves bring to our economy billions of dollars, are our first responders, are our teachers, are our medical professionals, and more. This is not only cruel, but it's self-inflicted wounds again. Mr. Chairman, thank you for allowing me to go over time.